Well, good afternoon, folks. We're starting our, I think this is our fourth session of the Livestock Guardian Dog Q&A session. So thank you everybody for tuning in. My name is Bill Costanzo. I'm the Livestock Guardian Dog Research Specialist here at the AgriLife Center in San Angelo. And so I'll be answering some questions that were pre-posted by producers. And if y'all have any questions that come up while we're watching the video, feel free to post those in the comments, and I should be able to see them on the screen here. So our first producer question was, once someone has their first young livestock guardian dog, what's the best way to introduce the young dog to their livestock and the livestock to them? And so I would say the best way is what we do here at the AgriLife Center, is to put the puppies into a bonding pen with some yearling animals. If you have a young pup, and as the pup matures and gets older in the bonding pen, you want to switch out the animals, change them every few weeks, and then start adding some different ages in as the puppy gets older. You should make sure that the pen is escape proof. Have some good net wire around it, maybe also some hot wire. That does seem to work really well so far in the study that we're conducting here at the center. There should also be a safe space in the bonding pen for your puppy to go in case it's getting bullied by livestock. Our safe space is basically just a feeding station that's completely enclosed, and the puppy can go inside there. There's feed inside there, but they do have to come out for water. And that's important so that the puppy doesn't just stay in its safe space all the time and not go out and bond with your animals. The bonding pen, if you can have it as far away from your house or from your headquarters, that seems to be a good idea. Our pens are about a mile away from the center here. They're just out in the pastures. And so the only time that the pups have any interaction with people is when I go by there and do some training and check on their feed and that kind of thing. So they don't see vehicles, very often. They don't see other humans very often, so they're not inclined to want to go to those areas and seek out more attention from them. Like I said, our pups go in at 8 weeks. They're with livestock all the time. We don't take them out. We don't move them until they're out of the bonding pens and out of the pasture that those pens are in, which is usually about 8 months of age. If you have more questions, there is a fact sheet on our AgriLife website on bonding and training livestock guardian dog puppies. So our next producer question was, given the popularity of homesteading and with that livestock guardian dogs, what are the most important things a newcomer should know before getting a livestock guardian dog? Well, again, I'll refer back to our website. There is a fact sheet on there on selecting a puppy, and you can download that from the AgriLife Center's guardian dog page. But basically, you want to find a good, reputable breeder, somebody that has the exact same type of livestock that you have that you want your dog to guard. Purchased a good healthy puppy from them that's weaned. Make sure that your breeder has a guarantee of some sort and will provide some mentoring for you. That's really important in case for some reason the dog doesn't work out or you're having issues. You have somebody to go and talk to that has a little bit more background with the dogs and their breeding. Make sure you choose a breed that works well for you and your ranch situation. Here in Texas, although there's a variety of dog breeds, ones with shorter hair coats all work a lot better. It's a little easier on the dogs. It's less management for you, that you don't have to worry about their long hair coat. Again, I go back to make sure that you have an escape-proof bonding pen that you can put the puppy into, and you have livestock, ready to go. Don't get your dog and then try to find livestock and go through all that. You need to have everything set. When you have that puppy, when you pick them up, they should go right out with livestock into a bonding pen. As your puppy grows, provide some basic training to it. leash train it, tether train it, take the dog on truck rides or trailer rides, and make sure that you socialize your dog. I strongly believe that you should be able to go out to your pasture at any point in time and catch any of your livestock guardian dogs. If you can't, it's really a liability for you, because if you can't catch your dog, then that means that most likely your dog is not being vaccinated. And at some point in time, if you're a small producer, your dog gets out, if it hasn't been vaccinated for rabies, for instance, that's going to be a big issue for you if it bites somebody. Not to mention the dog will end up having to be destroyed. During the teenage months, which is from about 8 to 18 months of age, you need to give the dog some extra supervision and some extra management during that time. Just different things come up during those teenage months, from chewing on tails or ears or chasing livestock or roaming or food aggression with other dogs. All those kind of things come up, and you need to provide some extra management during that time. And then once they fully mature, most livestock guardian dogs are pretty easy to handle and pretty easy keepers after that point. The next question that we had come up is, producer has a livestock guardian dog since he was 15 weeks old. He was raised with chickens and pigs, and his parents were both working dogs. At the dog's current location, he has goats and chickens. And when he's supervised, he does a good job, but when he's unsupervised, he'll kill chickens from time to time. And he doesn't seem to have prey drive, but he's just playing them to death. It says if he catches him in the act, he stops when he's scolded, and he drops them. He doesn't touch them when the owner's with him. Any ideas? Is it too late to trust him now? Will he outgrow it? He turned a year in April. And so, again, that kind of goes back to what I mentioned in the last question, is that the dogs go through, some teenage months is what I call it. And so if you're a parent, you definitely understand that. And so that dog is definitely in that teenage time still. And some of the breeds mature even slower than the other ones, even though livestock guardian dogs in general mature slowly. It does seem that some of the breeds take a little bit longer, and some of them are even up to 24 months before they fully mature. I haven't had any Polish Tatras, and that's the breed of dog that this producer has, but it may just be a slower maturing breed. And so I would definitely say that the dog isn't untrustworthy at this point. You just need to work with him some more. And so even though he's good when you're there, obviously he knows that you're going to scold him and reprimand him when you're around, and so he does things when you're not there. So what I would recommend is, one, tethering up the dog for several weeks, and each day, when he's tethered, bring out a chicken and let the dog smell the chicken, let the chicken walk around, and just be there with you and the dog, and make sure that there's no type of aggression or anything like that's happening. And I would tether him up for 15 or 20 minutes every day, and bring out different chickens each time. And as you see him comfortable with the chickens, sniffing the chickens are just walking around, the dog's okay with them, start leaving the dog for a couple minutes and go to some place where he can't see you, but you can see him, and monitor what he's doing. And as soon as he goes to grab a chicken, if that happens, come right back over and scold him. At some point, if that doesn't work, you may want to move into like a shock collar, and be able to walk away from a little farther distance and monitor him. And if he goes to grab a chicken, just hit him with the button, and I guarantee he'll stop doing that fairly quickly. It is going to take several weeks of training to get the dog through this. It might even take a month or more, but I would definitely start some retraining as soon as possible, because he is getting older and older, and that behavior won't stop the older that the dog gets. So you definitely need to step in and correct that bad behavior as soon as possible. The next question we had that a producer posted was, how long does the livestock or guardian dog juvenile stage typically last as far as young dogs chasing and chewing on lambs? So again, that's generally from about 8 to about 18 months is what we see. Some dogs that'll last up to 24 months. As far as chasing, if you can't be there all the time, I'd recommend putting a dangle stick on the dog. Those seem to work really well. If you have pastures are open and free of any brush or anything like that, either a chain drag or a tire drag works. And when you're there, try an electric training collar. I would try some of those other things first before you go to that extent. But you can always try a shock collar, especially on an older pup that's 10 or 12 months old. If you don't know what a dangle stick or a drag is, again, there's some fact sheets on our website. You can go and you can download those, but basically they're just a device that attaches to the dog's collar and slows them down so whatever they're chasing can hopefully get away. Chewing on lambs is a little bit harder to stop, or on kids, but I would try some bitter apple spray. It's normally at your local feed store or Tractor Supply. It'll be in the horse section, or you can try some hot sauce, on some tails or ears. I definitely wouldn't apply either of them, on a lamb that has an open wound or a kid that has an open wound, because it may irritate the wound. So try to find a lamb that hasn't been chewed on, or a kid, and apply some of that to those areas. And I think that'll probably help. Between that and the dangle stick or a drag, I think that'll help correct those bad behaviors that are in your juvenile dog. The next question that producer posted, I think it was actually this morning, and it definitely is fitting for this time of year, is how do you take care of a long-coated dog in the summer heat? So I'd say the best way to care for your long-haired dogs is to brush them out with a shedding brush as often as possible and keep their hair coats free of any loose hair or mats. That allows their natural insulating ability of that double hair coat to help keep them cool even on the hottest days. Now, I understand that that's not always possible, and that's generally not possible for us here at the center. There's not enough man hours in the day and employees to take care of all the dogs that we have. And so, when I go out and check on the dogs on a regular basis, a lot of times I have clippers with me and I have a shedding brush. And so I'll go through and trim up their chests, their bellies, the lower portion of their tail that gets all full of burrs and stuff like that, their inner legs, and try to get rid of any of those mats and all clusters of burrs and stuff like that are in their hair coat. Whenever possible, and I'm trimming those areas, I don't slick shear them down. It's not like I'm using a pair of surgical blades on the clipper. I like to leave about a ½ an inch of hair coat. One, it still leaves some of that double hair coat that they have intact, and it keeps those areas with some hair on it so that they don't get sunburn. Whenever it's possible, we just kind of spot clip areas that have a lot of mats or a lot of burrs and spear grass stuck in them. It is important that you remember to never, ever, clip your dog's head or its back, their sides, because they can get a sunburn. And, that destroys their coat's natural ability to help insulate them. And so just, those areas that are highly matted and full of burrs and stuff like that, I would trim those off, because generally you can't brush them out, or even with a good shedding brush or comb, you usually can't get them out. The other thing, if you're a smaller producer, try to provide them with plenty of shade, plastic kiddie pools with some water in them. If your water troughs aren't big enough for the dogs to get inside and cool off, work real well also. And they're definitely going to probably dig, some large holes at this time of the year to try to get down. We're into the cool soil as much as possible. So watch out for those when you're walking out in the field. Our last producer question today that I had posted just a little while ago was, for someone just starting out, would it make sense to pay money for a trained dog or do some research and do the training yourself? So I would say, I guess that really kind of depends on if you have the time and the patience to train the dog. I would personally buy a weaned pup and recommend that you train it yourself. I think it's important for producers, especially new producers, to go through the process and understand, how the dogs are bonding to livestock and what to look for when they're bonding to livestock, so that you know what's happening, and you get a better sense of the dog, how they act, if they're feeling well or they're not feeling well, when they're going to misbehave and when they're not. You can read all those things in the dog if you're seeing them on a regular basis and providing that training. We've seen better success with dogs that we've trained here versus dogs that we've purchased. The other thing is, weaned pups are generally cheaper than bonded pups. Most of the time a good, weaned pup from a reputable breeder is going to be between $400 and $600, where an older bonded pup that's 8 to 10 months of age is probably going to be $800 to $1,000. And if you can find an adult dog, like a yearling or a long yearling, you're definitely going to be $1,200, $1,500, maybe even more than that. And usually, if you can find one of those dogs, there's probably a reason why somebody's willing to get rid of it, and it's probably because the dog isn't working out for some reason. So if you decide to buy that bonded pup, make sure that you get it from a breeder that bonds to the exact same type of livestock that you have. Just because they bonded it, for instance, to hair sheep, and you've got wool sheep, that may not be the best thing for the dog. So I would try to find a breeder that, if you've got wool sheep, find a breeder that's bonding to wool sheep. The more things like that you can do, the better chance of success you have with your livestock guardian dog when they get to be an adult. It seems like the dogs tend to want to stay with the same type of livestock that they were raised with. I'm seeing that in our bonding project. Some of our dogs, as they're adults, seem to have a preference for sheep, or they have a preference for goats. And when I go back and look at where those dogs came from, the goat dogs are generally, that want to be with goats, generally were born, on a ranch that had only goats, and the same with sheep. And so, we don't have a bunch of statistical research on that yet, but that's just kind of what I'm seeing from our bonding project. So that's what I would recommend, if you're looking at getting a livestock guardian dog. So I don't see any comments over here in the questions or anything. So I think I'm going to wrap this up for today. But if you do have any questions, feel free to post those later on in the comments, and I'll get those answered for you. You can also contact me here at the AgriLife Center, either on the phone or email, or through Facebook. I sure appreciate everybody logging in and posting some questions today. Hopefully everybody got their questions answered. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next month.